So today we're going to start going through and creating content for our site. And the rest of the semester is really going to be around content. We've built our framework. So you have somewhere to put stuff is really what we ended up building. There's still a lot of settings we need to do. You know, here the jQuery color box needs our attention. We'll probably get that set up today because we're going to start inserting images. But we need to go through and convert content to get onto WordPress. And I think one of the misconceptions about WordPress as well as other content management systems is you could just upload stuff and it kind of takes care of it for you. And that is not the case. Some of you, I think, have already figured that out. You uploaded a PSD file, a Photoshop doc, and it just makes a link. It's not connected the right way. So we have to really convert things in Photoshop or another image editor first to get it to the correct size. And that's the big issue here is we're dealing with size. This goes for Behance as well. So the same procedure we're going to do here, kind of going through all of the Adobe products. You're going to have stuff scattered all over the place from all the work that you've done in the past, you know, for either for clients or for what you've done in class. And you need to get it all into a standardized format and then upload it. And that also means naming your files correctly. It really drives me up the wall when you see like 01146-849364. It doesn't make any sense. And this kind of just goes overall for any production work that you're doing as well. And I didn't download the full folder, but I may open it up and just talk a little bit about organization for clients as well as organization for your files. Especially when and you probably are in this if you've taken classes for 3-4 years now, you've got stuff going all the way back to your freshman year, or you have clients that you work for, you end up with a lot of stuff. So staying organized, I can pull things up from 20-25 years ago and open them still. One of the big issues that you're not going to run into here in the classes, but you may run into in the real world is Quark documents, Quark Express docs. And that's something I ran into when I was converting a bunch of stuff about 6 months ago. I had work from literally 25 years ago from the late 80s that were Quark Express documents and PageMaker documents. So I mean, PageMaker's, you know, like awesome. It's gone. It's been buried for a long, long, long time. But PageMaker was the predecessor to InDesign. Adobe bought it from Aldus to then compete with Quark. So Quark Express, for those who don't know, it's still around. And the reason I'm bringing this up is you might end up working for someone and they may have been around a long time, you know, 30 years. I can guarantee you they're going to have Quark documents, .qxd files, or they don't have any file extension at all. And you have to figure out what type of file they are. So if they're a layout file from the early 90s, it's going to be a Quark Express document. Now, you can buy it, and it's one of those things where if you really need it, I would suggest buying it or downloading the free trial and opening as much stuff as you possibly can and saving it as a format that InDesign can open. But you'll notice here, InDesign users, they kind of have this whole, oh, come back to Quark. I'm like, no, that ain't happening. So the big issue here is it's just like other video editing programs. Adobe's got their claws in everyone because when you buy the Creative Cloud, you get InDesign, you get Illustrator, you get Photoshop. They are seamless products. Quark is a standalone when it's all said and done. But it is here. There is a Quark... what is it here? I can't. And, you know, it looks like InDesign here. So, I mean, you can figure Quark out pretty quick. And I came from Quark. I used to teach it. So when I jumped over to InDesign, it was like super easy. So kind of backwards too. And they have a plugin, and I don't know where it is, that will convert your older files to newer files. Then you can open those up and save them into a file format that InDesign can open. This is the problem with digital. Quark is a really good example of it. Is file formats go away. Yes, JPEG will probably be around forever, or we'll always be able to open a JPEG file. It may get replaced, who knows? You know, in the future, someone comes up with a better way to compress files. But zip files, we should always be able to open them, but who knows? If we zip something up, then it's trapped there. And that's the difference between paper and digital. Think about it. We still have books and scrolls and transcripts from thousands of years ago that were either etched into stone or on paper and stored. 1,000 years from now, are we going to be able to open our digital files? Probably not. We can't even open files from 10 years ago in some cases because file formats change or a company goes out of business. What happens if Word goes away? That's always a possibility. Now we have all these DOC and Excel files that we can't do anything with. Now, someone's always going to do a converter, but that doesn't help if it's someone who doesn't know how to convert. So anyway, this is an issue that you're going to run into constantly as a designer, is dealing with other people's messes. I get it all the time. Oh, here's a disk with a whole bunch of stuff on it. I open it up. None of the files are there. So I don't know how much InDesign work you've done, but collecting for output or packaging it together is probably the key. Making sure all your files are attached, into one folder, then having all of that carry through. So InDesign's probably the hardest one to convert out, and so having the files in their correct format all together, it's important. I grabbed an InDesign file right now that I threw off to the side. We'll talk about InDesign here as well. So Quark is a big one. Converting all your other files. We talked about this at the beginning when we went through design process. You need high resolution files, minimum 300 dpi. And that's a problem with clients. Clients don't understand that. They're going to give you garbage. Oh, here's some files I pulled off the internet. And they're all like this big. Oh, well. Yeah. And you're going to deal with it. Honestly, as much as I would love to say we can educate the world, sometimes it's easier just to fix the problem and not educate the world. And then it's not my problem. I hate to say it. Exactly. Bill them out an extra 2 hours and go, sorry. And it took you 3 minutes. And be a lawyer. That's what lawyers do. Oh, I talked to you for 5 minutes. That's $150. So, and sometimes too, just for the overall job that you're working on, it's not worth going back and fighting with the client over, you didn't give me the right thing. You have to go out and find your own stuff or fix it or put it together. So these are the skills that, quite honestly, make most people employable in this industry. I would rather have someone who's a mediocre designer who knows how to do all this stuff and get a job out the door into the printer than someone who's just like a brilliant designer who can't format an Illustrator file in the right way, because that's going to lose me money. I don't care how good that person is. And it kind of goes back to the comic book world. I don't know if you ever noticed when you're reading books, the cover was always totally awesome. Like the best artist, the big name did the cover, and you open it up and it was like some Joe Schmo who did the interior art. And the reason is a lot of the good artists just can't deliver a book on time. They're good. They just spend too much time pumping out the book and they miss their deadlines. Versus, I don't want to say mediocre, but versus just your kind of run-of-the-mill artist who can put out a book on time. If I'm an editor, guess who I'm going with every time? I'm going with the guy who can deliver. And so that's knowing all the little tips and tricks and getting things through as quick as you possibly can. All right, so let's talk about converting files. And I don't think I have any. I wonder if I have a cell phone file. I'm going to pull an image. I'm going to grab a file off my phone too, just like a picture I can use. Let's see, photos. Actually, perfect. This came off a. This image I'm downloading came off a Canon. Is it 6D? We can look it up, but it came off a regular SLR camera, and I'm gonna grab one off a phone here. Okay. And then this one came off my phone, iPhone, a couple years old. So I'm going to start with photos because they're the easiest to deal with. So we'll get Photoshop open, and Photoshop is going to be the center of our universe here. Everything we do is going to come back through Photoshop and saved from Photoshop. So even if it's an InDesign file, we're going to talk about the different ways to get the files we need out of InDesign, but they'll probably end up coming back through Photoshop because we got to change sizes and all kinds of things. So I'm going to open up, and you can grab any picture for this. So if you don't have a photo, so this I shot off a DSLR. So it's a big image. So this is like if someone gave you a whole bunch of images off an SD card. Here you go. What do you do with them? So let's look at the size. I'm going to turn on the rulers, Command R, and I'm going to convert over to pixels too. So this is my size. This is a 72 DPI, or 72 pixels per inch. It is 5,184 pixels by 3,456. This is a big image. Decompressed is 51.3 megabytes. So this came off as a JPEG off a DSLR. If this was a RAW file, it would be even bigger. And we would have had to convert it from RAW to something we can work with. So you may end up with RAW files as well. If you're shooting, let's say you're shooting a product catalog, you better be shooting in RAW. I mean, anything that's real for production, but JPEG is still not that bad. I don't care what people say. I've been working with the JPEG files for stock photos since day one, and most people don't understand. You know, they're like, "Oh no, RAW is better." I go, "Well, you tell me the difference when it's printed, and then I'll start believing it." Yes, there are some, you know, for photography and stuff, but so 72 DPI. Let's look at inches. I can print this at 72 inches by 48 inches. Really with no loss. Probably a little bit. This file is just too big. If I uploaded this to WordPress, I would have a mess on my hands. It's a huge file. It's too big to download. So the first thing I need to do for an image like this is I have to change the size of it. So I brought it into Photoshop. I did image size. I went to pixels. 72 is what we deal with. Everything we're going to work with today, we're going to convert to 72 DPI. Doesn't matter what we're working with. We've got to bring that down. Now, Retina is 144. Question?
Is everything online generally 72?
Yeah. Almost everything online is 72, except for things that are what we call Retina display or high def. It's double. It's like 144 or something like, or one. I can't remember what it is. But most people don't even notice that. So 72 DPI is what we're looking at here on the computer. So let's talk about width. You have to decide what your width is going to be for your images. Now, it could be anywhere between 900 and 2,000. I've been floating around 1,400 pixels for all of my conversions. So it doesn't matter. Now, the height is a whole other monster. I'm worried about the width of the browser. So we have like 1024 by 768. We have different sizes that the browser is at. Like this browser is set at 1600 by 900. So this this display is 1600 pixels wide. So if my web browser is open to the full width, it is 1600 pixels. So that's where my 1400 comes in. I like to give myself a little bit of room. And at 1400, most images look really good. Now, WordPress will scale it down and shrink and everything, but the original image is 1400 pixels. But 1024 by 768, 1280, 1600, 20 by 48, 25 by 60. These higher resolutions, bigger monitors, you know, we're not that old 800 by 600 anymore. I doubt there's a lot of 1024 by 768 out there even. That's 17-inch monitor. I think almost everything is 1280 and higher now, especially with high def and 4K. So my number I'm using is 1400 pixels for all of my conversions. You can go a little less, a little more. That is completely up to you. 1400 works really well on Behance as well. So when you're uploading your work to Behance in your portfolio, these same files we're creating work really well. Now you'll notice the height automatically changed because we have the constraint on. Don't turn that off. That's not good. And then resample is automatic. Leave that alone. There's no reason to be playing with that. Photoshop does a really good job. So I hit OK. I now have a much smaller image, but if I zoom in or I do Command 0, that's what it looks like full screen. Now we need to save it. So there's a couple ways to do this in Photoshop. There's export as and save for web legacy. They're trying to phase out the old save for web. Everything's gone to just exporting. So I'm going to do export as. We'll use the new stuff today. Shows us the image. You can scale. You can change. You can blow it up or shrink it down. You could do that here. It's great for automation, but I still manually change all of my files. You know, I went in and did 1400. I want to see what they look like. I don't want it just to automatically do it. So we're going to leave this all alone. You notice you can have more than one image here too. We can export multiple images. Here's the image itself. Format. So we have 4 formats that we work with. PNG, PNG file, JPEG, GIF or GIF or whatever they decided, whatever it's called now, and SVG. I still call it GIF, and it's going to be GIF in my world till, I don't know, is it GIF now? I don't know what they're doing. Graphic Interchange File Format is what it stands for. It's from CompuServe, and it has animations. So PNG files are, they have alpha channels, which means you can do transparencies at 24-bit. At 8-bit, you can't. So think of a PNG file as like a GIF without the animation, but a higher quality. They're bigger files usually. It never took off the way everyone thought it would. You know, PNG was the next big thing. It's just a format. I use it for transparencies with drop shadows. It's the only way to make them. JPEG, been around forever, joint photography group formatting. It's been around since, I think, mid-80s at this point. And it's a way to compress a file to send it and then decompress it. So it throws away information though. Keep that in mind. JPEG is a lossy format. Then we have GIF, GIF, whatever it is. There's all kinds of issues with it. It made a resurgence with animated ones, but from a design standpoint, there's all kinds of limitations on it. And then we have SVG. That will not work for this because this is not a scalable vector graphic. So it's not an Illustrator vector file. So we're not even going to play with that one here. Good rule of thumb. If it's a photograph, it's going to be a JPEG file. If it's a flat image, just flat color, try PNG and try GIF and see what file size you end up with. So it tells us our image size, the width, the height, the scale. Now, quality. JPEG runs on a quality of 0 to 100%. About 70% is going to give you a file that's decent. It looks okay. It's smaller. But look over here. See 539K? That's the size of the file with these settings. If I go up to 100%, it goes to 1.5. So that's what's happening here is JPEG is compressing, throwing away information. The lower the quality, the more information is thrown away. Most stock photography ships around 80%. 80 to 90%. That's just to save space. I am going to tell you right now to set it at 100% for your work. And the reason is WordPress compresses the file again. When it's uploaded, it does compression on the back end. So we want the best file that we possibly can to be uploaded. Now, later on, we'll talk a little bit more about compression and all that. But right now, I want you to save these as really high quality JPEG files. You might end up making 1 or 2 pings in here, but if nothing else, format JPEG quality 100 with this 1400. You can change it here. I prefer to go through the other. You can though. And then if you do want to add copyright and contact info, you can. I don't care about that. And we're going to have it convert. And this is probably the most important one right here. Convert to sRGB. Let's say we have CMYK files. You don't want to upload CMYK JPEG files. They look horrible because they just don't render right. So this will automatically convert it for us. And I'm going to do export all. I'm going to throw it on the desktop. I'll call it like school photo event or something like that. Or school event. I might have school event 01, school event 02. If you have multiple files, like say you have 25 images you're going to upload, use the double digit 01, 02 or 001, 002. Otherwise, they will not show up in the correct order. 1 goes up to 10. 2 goes to 20. They get mixed up. So I'm going to call this school event. You can call it whatever you want. I am going to create a folder before I do this. I'm just going to call it WordPress uploads or something like that. So all my files that are going to go to WordPress will go in this folder just to keep things clean. I'll click export, and I now have converted this. So if you know a little bit about Photoshop, hopefully you do, you could automate that process. If you don't care about, all you're doing is converting the original files, you can write an action to convert the file. So under Window, we have Actions, and hold on, I am going to revert back to my original. So I'm back to my original file right now. It's no longer 1400, it's like 5000 or whatever. I undid. How many of you worked with actions in the past? Okay, I'm going to take that as not many of you. So let's talk about them. Let's say you got 5,000 photos to convert. Someone gives you them all, you need to get them all up. You got to, but they're all huge. They came off like a Canon 6D or one of the big Nikons. They're raw files. I mean, you're talking about, like, let's just say 50, 60 gig worth of images that you need to convert to get onto your WordPress site to put up a gallery. So you say, okay, what do I do? Well, you can create an action. So I went under Window, Actions. And there's a couple ways to do this. If you notice, we have some actions in here already, like molten lead, sepia toning. If you click on an action, I'll move it over here. Oops. Like sepia toning. And you hit the play button at the bottom, it'll sepia tone it automatically. How many of you know how to do a multiple undo in Photoshop? Not just Command Z. Command Z is only one. If you hold Command Option Z, you have multiple. You're moving through the history palette. How many of you know about the history palette? It's awesome. There's my history palette. So if I want to move through it, Command Option Z, see how it's moving through? I can jump to the bottom here and go, I don't like that. Command Option Z, it'll take me through. It's the closest thing we have to a multiple undo, like in Illustrator and InDesign in Photoshop. And it's really, like I said, it's just using the history palette. The other thing too is if you do a lot of editing work and you're playing with stuff, snapshots are huge. You can take a snapshot of wherever you are and it will save it to the file. So you can always go back to that moment in time in Photoshop. But there's like save as Photoshop PDF. Here's a gradient map. I have no clue what that does. Let's see. Ooh, yay. That was ugly. Quadrant colors. There you go. Change it into 4 quadrant colors. Look how many steps it did. Water reflection, that's with type. Wood frame. There, put a little wood frame around it. Look at all the different, look at all the stuff it did. So someone sat down and recorded all of that. So we can do the same thing. We can record an action. So let's see if I can create one for this. So I'm going to come down and under actions, we have create new action. I'm going to call it convert to 72 dpi and 1400 pixels wide. I know that's long, but you know what that action does. I hate it when people create an action that just says like number 4. I don't know what that is. So I'm very descriptive. So under actions, if you don't have the action window, it's window, actions. I hit new down at the bottom. We're going to put in the default. We can put a function key. So if you want to create it, so if you hit F whatever, it'll just automatically run. I'm not going to do that. You can also put a color on it. I'll throw just a color just to keep it separate. Now we're going to record all of my steps here. So what it's going to do is it's going to record everything that I do and then play it back. So I'm going to click on record. Got to be careful from this point. It is recording everything I'm doing. So if I don't want a step in there, either I got to start over or go back and edit it. So I always suggest walking through everything first before you record it to make sure that's what you want to do. This one's pretty simple, so I'll go image, image size, 1400 for the width, 7200 for the resolution, and hit OK. It recorded what I just put in there. The key, though, was the 1400 pixels and then the 72 dpi. Now, I'm going to do one more export here, and I may screw this up. It's been a little while since I've done an action. I'm going to go do the file, export, and export as. And we'll do JPEG 100 quality. It's already there, so I don't have to change it. And I'm going to do export all. And I'm just going to send it to the desktop. Oops. I'm just call it test and send it to the desktop. Now I'm going to hit stop. Back under actions, I'll click on stop. And it didn't record. Okay, so it doesn't record the export. It used to record the save as web. So I like what I've got here. I'm going to undo this. So if I open a new file, I just open this file, we'll pretend. I come over here, I hit play, it converts it. So now I don't have to jump through all those hoops. I still have to do the file, export as, and do those settings. Question?
For some reason, my whip got messed up, so what do you do if you have to like re-record it?
Oh, re-record?
Yeah.
So you can come in here, and that's not. I would just throw it away because it's a short one.
Okay.
So hit delete, and then just run it again.
Okay.
I think you can duplicate it as well. And if you want to get rid of this, hold on. Whoop, I don't want to delete all actions. Here, actually, let me show you. If you open up the action and you want to get rid of, let's say you accidentally did a couple other things in here, you want to highlight it, come up to the top in the pull down menu, and hit delete. And this will only delete the selections in here. It won't delete the whole thing, so then you can re-record it. So if you accidentally recorded 2 steps you don't want, delete those steps and then it should be working. Question?
I don't have, like, you have a check mark next to your image size.
Mhm.
I don't have a check mark next to mine convert to.
You can turn it on. This is toggle the item on and off.
Well, it says now, it says this will toggle the state of all commands in this action. It is not undoable.
That's fine. You can toggle it on.
Okay.
It should. So you can test it on other things. I'm going to use this again though, because we're going to be opening up a lot of files. So I can just run this action every time. I'll still walk through it, but for me, I can do that. And then we can do automate batch. So once you have an action, you can automate the action in Photoshop and batch it. You'll notice there's some here: PDF, droplet, fit image, lens correction, merge to HDR, photo merge. There's some preset ones in here. Like when we do the drone stuff, if we have a whole bunch of images taken from a drone, Photoshop will automatically stitch them all together into one giant image. You just tell it to go and let it do its thing. It's that smart at this point. But I'm going to batch automate. And if you don't get this far, it's okay. I just want to show it to you. We can pull up the action. You want to select a folder. So let's say I had a folder full of like 200 images. I can select that folder. And then the destination is we can either save and close or go to a folder. We can name it. And we can override the save as command as well, but we're going to keep that. So we can change the names. You can really automate. I'm not going to go through this because honestly, this is usually a good 45-minute, like really walk through in detail. We're not going to be using this, but any action that you create, you can use to automate other things, and like hundreds of photos at a time. And we do this all the time. I'll get all these pictures. We need to convert them all to 72. Boom. Let it run through. Or if we were doing it for print, maybe we'd set it to 4 by 6 inches at 300 DPI. Question?
Just like, would it just be assigned to like a folder basically? And it would just
Yep.
do the whole thing?
Back in here, you would say automate, batch, choose the folder,
Okay.
and then the destination, you can send it to another folder. So it opens them up and then saves them to somewhere else. So you don't mess with the originals. So this is the automated side of the world in Photoshop. And I use this, I would say at least a couple times a month, especially when I'm working on big projects. I'll sit down and go, I don't want to open all these and save them all. And it's easier just to automate the whole process. So we have our little action we can use. So now let's say I've got another issue here. I want to crop this photo. Like, I don't want all these other kids in here. I don't care about the other kids. I just want my kid who's sitting right here. I want her in the picture with her friend maybe, and you know, I want to. So I could crop this. I can say okay. I can select using the selection tool, or the marquee tool, I mean. I can do image crop. You know, that works. I can then run, I can go look at the image size. Ah, but look, it's under 1400 pixels. It's 1100. That doesn't really work for me here. So we can do a couple things. And this is where I really do prefer to have templates. Instead of resizing this image to make it fit what I want, what I like to do is create a new document. So Photoshop, new, we're going to do 1400. And here's the issue is height. If I go back to inches here and I do 4 by 6, I just did 4 by 6 inches. So, you know, standard 4 by 6 photo. That also converts to 8 by 10. So I'm looking at just standard size images here. And I jumped back to pixels. So I went to inches and changed it to 6 and 4 because I'm not good with math here. I got to let the computer do it for me. That gives me a 432 by 288. Like, not big enough, right? It's tiny. Excuse me. If I change this to 300 and go to the 4 by 6, and the reason I'm doing this, I want to show you the conversion. That gives me 1200 by 1800. So what that tells me is I'm looking for the height and the width. Oh, you know something? There we go. I was looking at the wrong orientation. Sorry about that. 1800 by 1200 is 4 by 6 at 300 dpi. So a standard 4 by 6 image at 300 dpi is 1800 pixels by 1200 pixels. So how many of you ever printed stuff like at Target or Walmart, you know, pictures? If you're going to create your own stuff, this is what I would do, is create an image that's 1800 by 1200 at 300 dpi, do all of your work inside that canvas, save it as a JPEG, and you can print it off at Target and it's going to look awesome. If you do it at 72, it's not going to. It can handle 300 dpi, the computers, because really all it is a die sub printer. That's all a photography machine is. So if you can do the 1800 by 1200 at 300 dpi, that will give you a 4 by 6 image, save it as a JPEG, like 80 quality, put it on a disk or put it on or email it, you know, upload it to their service, and you're going to have really nice images. I'm going to do 1400, and I got to go to 72 here. I think it's 1050. I just want to make sure. Nope, that didn't convert. Give me 1 second. I got to get conversion numbers here. 933, so sorry, didn't mean to create a new document. So let me go back, new. Okay, gonna crash on me. There we go. So I'm gonna create a document that's 1400 by 930. That's that nice rectangle, fits images, we'll be able to scale, bring them in. 72 dpi, RGB color. Background, transparent's fine, or white. I don't care either way. So 1400 pixels by 930, resolution is 72. You've got to have the 72 in here. Don't make it anything else. And make sure this is pixels, not inches. Yeah, then you'll just break everything. Nothing will work. If it's 1400 inches, even at 72 dpi, it's a massive file. 10 feet, over 10 feet wide if we printed it. It'd fill half the wall. Hit create, and I'm going to do a file, save as. And I'm going to call this template. I'm going to put 1400 pixels, just so I know. So now I've got a blank canvas in Photoshop. And this is where, if you are more comfortable copying and pasting or dragging and dropping, I don't care. But we got to bring over content into this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab part of this image, I'll copy it, Command C, and paste it in. Then using the move tool, I'm going to position it. Now I can't blow this image up. I can't scale it. I can't do this. I mean, I could a little bit, because really from a composition standpoint, that's better. But I don't like to blow things up. This is about as good as I'm going to get it. But you notice I'm just positioning it until I'm happy. There we go. So I'm trying to make her the focus of this image. The other thing you can do is if you take the move tool, up. Now I can't drag it over. I was trying to just now. Oh, there, and now it dragged over. I moved over the entire image and I can position it. I can't make this any bigger. That's my problem. So I'm happy with that. Or if I go to my layers, where's my layers? I can move this around too. The reason I like to copy and paste, here I'm going to throw this layer away. Then I'm not bringing over a giant image. I'm only bringing over what I need. I can also drag and drop. Oh, didn't work. Oh well. Yeah, here's my problem is it's on a locked layer. I would have to duplicate. Now I can drag and drop.
You can just double click the layer.
Yeah. You can double click on it too. Older versions of Photoshop though won't unlock a background layer when it's locked. So I'm old school. I like to do the select part of it and copy and paste. And here's why. If I drag over this big image, so if I drag over the whole thing and I try rescaling this, I'm going to have to go grab a corner and move it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this. I'm just not that fast that way. But by copying and pasting just this part of it, I can scale very quickly. Remember, always hold the shift key too. Always constraint. Don't do this. I'll fail you if you do this. I always tell my other, when I taught Photoshop, if I ever see this in an assignment, you got enough. I don't care how great your assignment is, that's enough. Just don't do that. Always hold the shift key. We crop, we don't force. So if I got to get something in there, image-wise, I will crop it before I ever force it. Always hold, constraint, shift. Whoops. So I'm happy with this. Yay, we got a picture. Everyone's... I'll save it. Now you're going to have all these images on layers. So you have all your old images. If you got to go back and reposition, it's quick to reposition. And then I'll do a file, export as. And we'll do JPEG. And I'll go into my uploads. And I'll do school event 02. That's my second one. Now, this template's only good for horizontal. I don't care so much about vertical. And the reason is, unless I got to rescale it and build it out, the heights are all over the place on everything we work on. You know, if a file's 11 by 17 or it's 8.5 by 11, the width we can set, but the height's always going to be different. This is great for just this kind of standard image size right here. It's real close to what we're working with. So we have a template I can use over and over again and how to convert the file. Now I'm going to open up So I want to show you real quickly in Photoshop under File, File Info. So this is the EXIF information for this image. Every picture you ever take on your phone, on digital camera, has data that's burned into it. So you know where it came from. We can put all of this information in, copyright notices, keywords. What's great, WordPress reads all this and will use it. Other programs like Lightroom really uses this information. So does Photoshop. And the web uses it too. This is how we know what's embedded in a file. It's EXIF information. So there's basic, you can put a title, an author, you can put commas or semicolons. So if you have two authors, you can put a comma and another author. You can rate it. You know, I can say, oh, it's 5-star, and I can put my title and all that. Copyright status, this is a copyrighted image. You can put the information and the URL back to your copyright info. So with this said, if you steal photos from somewhere, guess what's in the EXIF info? Probably all this information. And it's very difficult to strip it out. There's ways to do it, but it's just attached to the document. And the majority of the public don't even realize this information's here. They may have seen the camera information, but not the other. But this is what I wanted to bring up was the camera data. So this was shot on a Canon EOS 60D with that serial number. So it embedded the serial number of the EOS of the camera. And then what lens? So it was 18 to 135. That was pretty much a stock lens. And its serial number. Then it tells us the focal length, 18 millimeters, the exposure, ISO 400, image size, orientation, which is normal, which is standard width, the resolution. The flash was fired. No strobe return detection. It was no red eye reduction either. So all this information was written to this file. So the flash did go off. We know that there was a flash involved. Origin, there's the original date and the time. If we had GPS, like on your phone, it will tell us a lot more information. It will give us the coordinates, the longitude and latitude of where that image was shot. And I don't have it in here. There's your GPS data. But it will actually tell you if it knew what city, country, credit line, source, headlines, instructions, references, even put an urgency on it as well. So IPTC, here's the core standards. You can put all of your business information attached to it. So if you're a photographer, there's also the raw data. Here is the DICOM. This is for patients. So this is when there's data being captured off like a MRI or a CAT scan. All that information's tagged. That way when that image goes into the system, it matches the ID. So think about it. If you're a radiologist doing image matching to a patient, all you need to have is the patient ID. And then it matches. So you don't have to worry about sending files and doing all that. We're matching things up. See, data is important. Here's video. It will tell us all about the frame rate, audio, GPS. So a lot of data about this image, but quite frankly, it's not a lot of data. We just know how the image was shot. I'm going to open up now my other image. And this is where if you have an image, let's say it came off your phone, which this one did. So this was off my old iPhone. Not this phone, but the 5. So I'm going to do the same thing now. File, File Info. So this was shot on an iPhone 5S. It was the back camera, the 4.15 millimeter with an f-stop at 2.2. Exposure, ISO was 32. Image size, it's a pretty big image. The flash did not fire. Origin. It doesn't know the city and stuff, but it does have GPS. There's no IPTC. But look at here. Position and altitude. So if I go and it's not gonna. You know, it's weird. It doesn't let me copy and paste. Here, I'll just type it in just because I'm being lazy. 33 degrees by 49 by 9.16 north by 118 degrees, 8 degrees north, 44.21 west. And I don't think it pulled it up. Oh well. I think there's a thing where I can drag it and drop it. But this is where it knows where it was taken. That's why your phone knows where you were. It embeds all this information. And I know people who, like in the fishing, they take pictures of their fish on their iPhone and upload it. And they're like, and they blur out the background so you don't know where their spot is. I just pull their position off this. I know exactly where they were standing. And we had a board that everyone was doing that, and people were like, well, I protect by blurring. I go, do it. And I did this. I opened their photo, captured it, and threw up the longitude and latitude for them. I go, I know where you were. I go, this isn't that hard. So keep that in mind. I think you can turn this off, but then all the other functions of your phone really just don't work that well. You know, Facebook knows you upload this. This is where Facebook's pulling its information from where you were. That's why you can upload a photo tomorrow and it knew where you were yesterday. It'll say, oh, were you at this place? Like this would be Long Beach Airport. It would say, were you at the Long Beach Airport? Or it will automatically just do it because this data is embedded here. There's no audio or video. I wonder, I can't spell today. Here we go, pick to map. Let's see what happens. There we go. Exactly where I was. I mean, it got it almost to the, I mean, that's really close. Because, yeah, it would have been that gate, too. I mean, I think it's only off by maybe about 30 feet. Because I would have taken it, like, right there where my cursor is. Gives me an address, the date, the camera. So all that data we just looked at, it maps it out for you and pulls it up. I'm just curious. Let's look up, I don't know, this would probably work better if I was on Facebook and just grab something. Because all these are been processed. Yeah. Darn. Yeah. Oh well. But you get the point. So, with that said, this image here, I want to convert it. I brought it in, image size. It's 2448 by 13264. If I made it 1400, the height is still big. Or I could have ran the action, and I'll save it too. Export as. So when you sit down and start doing these, it kind of just becomes open it, change it, realign it, save it, move to the next one. It's just, and naming them correctly. So I'll export this. I'll put it in my uploads. I'll call it like Long Beach Airport. So now if I go look at these photos, whoops, totally wrong folder here. WordPress uploads, I've got 3 images in here. Now they're pretty big. If we want them a little smaller, then we would have brought down from 100%. But once again, WordPress does compress files. It tries to make them smaller as well. It runs another algorithm on them, basically compressing them again. So I always like to upload the best quality. And quite frankly, most people are going to look at these and they want to see the best that you have to offer. It's your portfolio. So we want to have them all in here. You will use these again somewhere down the line. Post them on Facebook, post them on Instagram, post them wherever. You now have a file that's small enough and good looking enough to use in multiple areas. All right. So that's Photoshop files, image files, stuff like that. I'm going to close all these. I don't need them. Now the next one's Illustrator. You probably have a bunch of Illustrator files. You're going to have to open your Illustrator files and separate out anything that you have within them. What I always tell everyone is you want to clean everything up to the point of it's just what you're focusing on. So if you did a logo and you've got 4 different versions, you're probably going to pull your best one out of the group or whatever your final one was. So we've got Illustrator open. And I'm going to open up an EPS file. So EPS stands for Encapsulated PostScript. It's an old format. It's been around as long as... Actually, I'm going to hit ignore. Hold on. Let's close that up. It's been around as long as PostScript has been for printing. It just basically means it's a PostScript file that is wrapped around, it's encapsulated around, or sorry, there's a wrapper around the PostScript that makes it a readable file by other formats. And I was actually, the other day, another designer and me were talking, we can open EPS files from 1986 with Illustrator if we wanted to. Now, can we open an Illustrator 88 document? Maybe. So it's one of those formats that's been around a long time. We don't expect it to go away, but we're not using it as much as we used to. So I've got an Illustrator file. It's older. So when I go to open it, it's a logo. It tells us, Illustrator now honors 9 slice scales of scaling of symbols. Any scaling done on the symbol instance with 9 as a legacy version will look different now. Do you want to retain the option for symbols? I just hit yes on these types of things because I honestly have no idea what it was just talking about. So it had something to do with scaling, and I'm like, yeah, fine, just go. Now, this is something you're going to run into. I'm missing a file. There was a linked file called orionlogo.png. It cannot be found. So it's saying choose to replace to select another file or ignore and leave the link unchanged. I don't know where that original file is. It could be something, I'm hoping it's not anything important. I don't think it is, because bitmap files in Illustrator, they're nice to work with and work from, but in the end you get rid of them. So I'm going to say ignore. And so we have this Illustrator file. Now the nice thing is I outlined it. So the fonts aren't an issue. They're all outlined. We've got a lot of gradients in here going on. We have a lot of layered type stuff. Drop shadows are all fake. They're solids, so I don't have to worry about any type of bitmap drop shadows. And the image itself, too, is a fairly big image. This is 8.5 by 11. It got blown up probably at some point. But remember, we can always scale it. That's the whole point of Illustrator. You notice when I scale it, boy, look what just happened. Strokes didn't scale with it. Oops. Sorry, I did a key command from Photoshop. That didn't work so well. So you need to decide how you're going to open this file. There's a couple ways to do this. We can open the file in Photoshop. So I open in Illustrator first to make sure everything is working fine. I can either open it in Photoshop, convert it, or we can create a new document in Photoshop and copy and paste over as a file, and then we can scale it too. So I'm going to open first. So I just want to make sure this file was okay. So if I do a file new, or not new, open, file open. Here's my EPS. I click open. Look at what it gives me. Image size, resolution, and color mode. So we know it's going to be 1400, right? So we'll put 1400 in there. We'll make the resolution 72. Oop, did you see what just happened? Okay, go back. It converted it. Mode, RGB. I'm not working in CMYK. I'll hit OK. And there we go. Now, it's 1400 wide on the document, not on the image. So that's an issue. What if I really wanted this to fill the full 1400? You know, it's square, even though it's circle, it's still, if I hold the shift key and draw a square around it, it fits within a standard square. That's its safe area. So what I'm going to do, and I could save this, but this is not a really good file in the end. Question?
Sorry, what was it? 1400, and then you did the 933 again? Or?
No, for this one I just did 1400 wide because we're just opening the file to see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could save it this way. Now let's say it was a full page spread, like from you did a full page layout in Illustrator. You're probably just going to open it at 1400 and save it.
Okay.
But my problem here is now my logo's smaller than my size of my canvas. It's not going to show all the detail. That's the whole point of this. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to close it. I'm going to create a new document that's 1400 pixels by 1400. And the reason I brought it being square, just the logo itself, I mean, I designed it so I know, it was built to fit in a square area. Even though it's a circle, it still has a live area that's square. And that goes for almost everything we work with. It doesn't matter. You're always trying to fit into squares. You know, everything on a page is laid out in blocks. So 72, 1400 by 1400, 72, RGB, transparent, pretty straightforward here. I'll hit create. Now, we have a couple choices. I want to bring it in and be able to scale it. Blow it up, shrink it down as much as I want. So we've got two choices here. I can do the old select all in Illustrator, copy it, go back to Photoshop. Sorry, I'm not using key commands here. Paste. And when I go to paste, it gives me some commands. Paste as smart object, paste as pixel, paste as path, or paste as shape layer. Because it's coming from Illustrator, you're going to pick smart object. Then it will add it to your current library. So what that means is it's going to upload an instance of this file to your library in the Adobe Creative Cloud that you can use again. It will save it in the cloud, and it will start building a library out of all these objects that you're bringing over. That is up to you. I'm actually going to turn this off because I'm not logged in with my libraries, and it may crash Illustrator. So be careful about that one when you're not on your logged in Adobe Creative Cloud. So I brought it in. You'll notice we get the constraint, and I can blow this up to get it to fit. Give yourself a little bit of a margin around. I'm holding the shift key. If you don't hold the shift key, you get that. We don't want that. Oops. And I'm happy. I double click on it. I can use my arrow keys just to position it. And I'm happy. I can then, unlike a bitmapped image, if I wanted to, I can scale this back down. I can blow it back up because it's a smart object. It's a vector-based smart object. If we look over under layers, you see the little icon. It's a little hard to see. That tells me it's a smart object. Even the name tells me it's a smart object. You can also do a file place. I'm going to delete this real quick. If you do a file, place embedded, you can embed the EPS. Now, the problem is, or no, actually not a problem, it is vector-based. But look how big the image is. It's bringing over the entire canvas, not just the image itself. Question?
Is there a difference between when you go to the place where it says place embedded or place linked? Is there?
Yeah, there's a big difference between the two. So when you do a file placed embedded, it embeds the EPS file in the Photoshop document. If you do place linked, everything kind of works the same. But if these two files are not together, the next time you open Photoshop, it'll say, I can't find the original EPS file. It's linked to it. So in this case, I would embed. I mean, we don't care how big the file is. That way, this image here is always embedded in the Photoshop document. You can also, so look over here. There's a little link instead of the document there. So I prefer either paste it as a smart object, because now that embeds it. It's part of it. But look at the difference with the bounding box. When I copied and pasted it, the bounding box is tight to the image versus a place. I'll do place embedded. It brings over the whole canvas, anything that's on the outside. So either way, we're going to end up with the same file. But for long term, I like to have the cleanest file I can here. So blow it up, give it a little bit of breathing room around it. That way, if two images touch each other somewhere in WordPress, they have a natural margin. Question?
Yeah, when I am transferring from Illustrator to Photoshop, the black I have in my drawing is not black anymore. It's like a gray. So what did I do?
You didn't do anything wrong. That is an entirely other lecture in itself.
Oh.
So, what the question was, when you're bringing over, and here, let me see if I can make it happen. I am going to draw a box, and I'm going to fill it with black. Right? We all do that in Illustrator. You think, great, I've got black. I'm going to copy it. I'll go back to Illustrator, or back to Photoshop. I'll paste it. Now, as a smart object, it is bringing over the pure black. But if I paste it as pixels, mine's not doing it. Darn. Oh, I may have the settings set.
I did paste it as a smart object.
Are you in CMYK mode?
I don't know.
Here, let me try something. I know exactly what's happening because we run into it in the comic book world all the time. It's not anything you did. It actually has to do with the fill. And it's the rich black. It's rich black versus solid black. 100% black. Sorry, I'm just...
Do a new.
No, hold on. Okay, CMYK. There we go. Mine turned gray that time in CMYK.
Yeah.
This isn't a solid black.
No.
And if we go into a... We're going to hit the color. Look at... Oh, this one is actually. It's coming over. You'll get a mix of colors here, like CM, Y, and K. I think my settings are set a little different than yours. There are some settings we want to change, and it's a shift is what ends up happening. It's a color shift. And like I said, I've seen it happen with colored images that we work with. The blacks come over a little gray, and they actually print gray too. So it's not a pure rich color. It's an issue back and forth, and I can go through. Actually, I can show you individually. There's some settings in here that we set for the rich black, and we need to make sure those are set. It looks like mine are. I'm not getting, like, my blacks are black here when they're coming over backwards and forwards.
Well, there's like, I have like little pieces of rich black that apparently came over, and then all
You may have a
the
different black selection in
really
Illustrator.
black.
So we'll take a look at it. Keep it up, and I'll pull it up.
Oh,
So either way, though, this is looking fine. I'm happy. I'm finally ready to save. So I'll do a file, export, export as, and we'll call it. And we'll do, I can do JPEG on this one. Looks good. Everything looks nice and smooth. And we'll throw it in here. We'll call it, what is this? Velocity. Logo. So now I have a really nice, simple, clean copy of the logo. You can see it's, now I can put this up. See the margin around it? I might even have given, I should have given myself a little bit more margin right here. But I like to have a margin around this. That way if two images butt up against each other, you get a nice natural margin around them. Don't go completely to the edge on something like this. Now, if it was just a straight image that did bleed, or go to the edge, that's fine. But for an image like this, give yourself a little bit of margin. Otherwise, it just doesn't look right later on. So AI files, you can either copy and paste or bring them in. You can save out of Illustrator. You can do a file, export, and there is export for screens, export as, and save for web legacy. That is up to you. I still prefer to jump into Photoshop. I have more control. I have my pixel sizes. I can create stuff. I can also do this. Let's say I brought it over and the color's off a little. CMYK to RGB conversion. I can always go in and do slight. I mean, this isn't slight, but you can see it's quick for me just to do little touch-up work. Maybe it needs to just be a bit darker. It came over a little light. I can do image adjustments. I'm a levels guy. I can do tons of stuff in levels and curves. I know there's better ways to do it, but I'll be honest, if I get an image like this, I just need to make a quick adjustment. Like right there, it just sweetened it up a little bit. Just that little bit. So that's another reason I like Photoshop is I have a little bit more control over my color and I can do overall color corrections. Illustrator, you got to go into each color and make the corrections. It's just quicker here to make the slight adjustment. All right, so now let's talk. That was Photoshop and Illustrator. Let's talk about the easiest one actually, which is Acrobat. So I am going to open up PDF file. So this is a print production PDF file. Actually, it's a proof, the revision 12 of this book. So this was the very last revision before it went to the printer. I would say export these out of InDesign as a PDF. So if you have any type of PDF file, doesn't matter, just anything will work. So this is the whole book. I mean, it's the whole 9 yards here. But let's just say I want the first 5 pages to put on the web as a preview. So I can open this and I can do export to in Acrobat, image, JPEG. It's going to save R12. Oops. I can change the settings, but look right off the bat, it's only saving them as medium quality. It's like a quick export medium quality. Okay, fine, I'll do it. I hit save, and you'll notice it's saving 24 pages out of it. I could have stopped that, but I'm gonna just let it go. And look what I got all over my desktop now. So it saved a whole bunch of files. So I'm going to pull one of these and open it in Photoshop because I want to show you what it did. I zoom in on this. That's artifacting. That's compression. That looks like crap. I'm not putting that up. I can change the settings in Acrobat to do higher or less compression, but I don't have a lot of control. Also, this isn't solid black. You can see it in there. Not what I want to put up in my portfolio. It looks good from here. It's okay. It is 2,000 pixels wide, 300 dpi. So it's a big image, but it did a whole bunch of things to it that I didn't want. Now let me get rid of all these. I didn't mean to do that, but there we go. So this time in Photoshop, I'm going to do a file open, and I'm going to open the PDF file, wherever it went.
It's right there.
Am I like, boy, I'm like PSD.
Rounded one.
Yeah, thank you. I'm tired.
All good.
There we go. So you'll see what it does in Photoshop. It opens and gives us an option for all the pages. So I want to do pages 1 through 5 here. Oh, did it crash? Nice.
Oh,
Nice. There we go. So I'm going to do 1 through 6. So if I hold down the Shift key, I can select 1 through 6, or if I held down the Command, I can pick other ones. So we want to do crop to bounding box. You can also crop to trim, art, bleed. So if those things are set up, you can crop differently here. This is the other reason I like it, is if I get a file with the crop marks and bleed, I can actually automatically crop down to just the bounding box, which gives me, or the crop, which would give me exactly what it would look like in print without all the little, crop marks and things like that. Width and height, 6.75 by 10.25. That's a standard size comic book. So it's the right size, but I want to do 72 DPI, and I'll go to pixels, and then I'll set it to 1400. But you notice the height didn't change? Constraint proportions was not on. I have no clue why that wasn't turned on. Should be. Out of the box. There we go. So you got to make sure constraint proportions is on. Then we have resolution, mode. Make sure you're in RGB mode. And I'll hit OK. Boom, boom, boom. And let's look at the difference.
Yeah, there's no like random pixels.
Uh-huh. Much cleaner image. And at 100%, that's what this image is going to look like on the web. What we're looking at right now. It's great for a preview. This will print like crap. It will not look good printed, but on screen, it's going to look good.
Can't print anything, so,
Yeah, you can't print at 72. You end up with little postage stamp size stuff at 300. So here's all my files. So I've got 6 pages to preview now in a gallery. And the reason I open this is I want to do a gallery. So this is where a multi-page document, let's say you did a little booklet or pamphlet, open each one individually in Photoshop, and then you'll need to save each of them individually. So you see where the work starts coming in. I'll do export as, all looks good. I'll call it Ronin 1. Actually, it already has the name. Whoop, ping file. There we go. So this is going to go pretty quick. It already has the names, Ronin 1 R12-1. So I'm going to just save all these real quick. And this is where I can automate a little, but for right now, I'll just go with the save as. Number 2. And I do need about 6 images here, so bear with me. You're going to need them too. You need at least 3 images to do a gallery. Anything less isn't worth. So I'm going to do 6 just so I have them. Fun. Fun, fun, fun. Whoops. So what I'm doing, I'm saving these as ping files. Stupid thing. I just realized that. Oh well, I'll leave them mixed in here. We'll have pings and JPEGs. And we'll actually compare, this actually works out. We'll compare the size of the files when we bring these in. Okay. All done. So look at the difference here. The JPEG's 1.9, the ping file is 4.2. So there are some major file size differences here. You know, the Velocity logo, though, was only 626K. So these aren't big files. They may seem like it in the world of the web. You always want to try to get as small as you can. But I'm also looking for quality. I want to make sure the quality's there. Now, PDF files, though, you'll probably want to upload PDF files. And we can. It will not put an image. It will put a link. We can also embed PDF files that are viewable in WordPress, but you have to have a plugin for that. All right, so now PSD file. So here we go. Here's a good example of a very typical print layout that I do now. So this was I did a little postcard for our Boy Scout troop. And luckily, I was able to pull the images off the web because they're like this big, like an inch by an inch on the postcard. So I just went and grabbed stuff off Facebook. I found an image on that free website that I think I showed you guys before. Downloaded the big one. What was it? Pixabay. So I went in here and I looked for, I think it was nighttime sky or something like that. Just like we did last week. Or camping. I think I put camping in. And I needed something with a dark background because I wanted the text. So, you know, I found it wherever it may be. Went and found the logo, which is also a smart object. But I want to show you my layers here. This is called lazy design. So this here, there's a little transparency. But I'm going to turn everything off. Because if you remember 4 over, what I did was I went and downloaded their template as a JPEG that shows all my trim lines. It has all your guides in place, and it tells you everything you need to do in Photoshop to lay this out to go to press. So this is what I went and did. I grabbed this, then I started working on top of it. I found an image. Like, see, I also looked at this image. The problem wasn't dark enough for my text. I had a lot of text. Dropped in all the pieces, phone number, some pictures. Like right there, that's a line breaking the, I just needed something to break up the images. Here's more text. And we got ourselves a nice little postcard ready for print. I saved this as a TIFF file. That's what got sent to the printer, front and back. There's a Spanish version of this too. Same layout, different pictures, but it's Spanish and English. So I only needed 2 files to go to the printer. A TIFF file for the front and a TIFF file for the back. Tagged image file format. I could have done a PDF, but I would have had to separate out PDF front, PDF back, and uploaded it to the printer that way. They don't want one PDF file. They need it broken up based on the pages. Now, I've done that. I go, great. I want to put this up on my website. So first thing I do, image size, 72 DPI, 1400 pixels wide. Now, anyone know why that's not right? What's beyond these blue guides? Right here. That's trim. This image is not 4x6, and that's the size of the postcard, 4 inches by 6 inches. It's 4.1 or 4.125. So there's an eighth of an inch all the way around. If I go 1400 pixels and I need to crop it down to its crop size, it will be smaller than 1400 pixels when I'm done. So before I change it, I grab my rectangle tool, hit the guides, and you can see the bleed now. On the outside of that marquee is the bleed. That gets trimmed off in production. So guess what? I need to crop it before I change the file size. So if you have documents that have a bleed, Photoshop, Illustrator, I don't care what it is, and you bring it into Photoshop, this is why I like Photoshop to do this, you need to crop it down to its final production size before converting to 1400. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something that's like 1320 when you start cropping afterwards. So crop has to happen before. So then I'll do image size. Now I can do 72 and I can do 1400. You notice I didn't flatten it? I haven't flattened it or anything. I just let it all resize. Let Photoshop do the resizing. It does a good job. Also, CMYK. Now, when I do that, it asks to flatten. I'm not going to flatten it. We want to make sure it is RGB. You can flatten it, and it doesn't really matter because we're not going to save this. We're not going to save the original because I don't want to overwrite it. Then we'll do export, export as. And we're going to do JPEG. There it is. It's correct crop size, so this is exactly how the postcard looks when it gets delivered. So I always want to show my work exactly how it's delivered. We'll do export all. Oop, hold on. What happened there? I wasn't paying attention. That was weird. 1400, 935. File, export, export as. Oh.
Yeah, I was the same.
Something. Whoops. That was weird. I must have clicked on it or something changed. Oh well. I'm not going to fight with it. We fixed it. Maybe over here I clicked on 2 or something like that. So I'll export it and we'll call it Boy Scout. It already had a good name, so I'll leave it. And that's converting your Photoshop docs. You know, make sure they're cropped down, all that's there. And then I do not save this document. Don't save, because I don't want to save over all my old work. So be very careful when you're doing it that way. Now the last thing, InDesign. So hopefully you have lots and lots of InDesign work, right? I was like, no. I'm going to be very blunt with you. You need to learn InDesign backwards and forwards to work in this industry. And a lot of people do not know it well. Like I would say when I was doing when I was doing magazines, I spent 80% of my day in Quark and InDesign working. Doing layout work, you know, doing pre-press, production, templates. When I was doing the catalog And the website, I would say 75% of my job was InDesign with the catalog. Learning how to use InDesign, how to set up documents correctly, how to troubleshoot documents in InDesign, and basically produce printable work is something that is sorely lacking in the field right now. It's just one of those, can't have enough InDesign. All right, so here's InDesign. Here is my document. I'm going to pull up my pages because I want to talk to you about my layout. So this is not facing pages. This document was set up specifically as single pages because that's what the printer asked me to. They gave me a template. I opened the template, I worked within it. So this has 24 pages and 24 spreads. Normally you'd have facing pages, so it'd be 1 and then 2 and 3. And then 4 and 5 and 6. This is a very, very simple layout. This document has 2 layers, lettering and artwork. Because that's all I'm doing in here, is I've got artwork in the background, and then sitting on top of that artwork is lettering. So there's 2 parts to this production. The image in the back, lettering in the front. They're both the exact same size, so when I drop in an image, they snap to, and boom, everything lines up. So there's no, this is the easiest part of a production for a comic book, is just putting this all together. I can have it done in 10 minutes. It's making all this stuff is what takes forever. But once you have it all in here, you've got your layout, everything's in spreads. I've got all kinds of broken links. If I go to links, look at all of them. Missing, 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 missing. I didn't bring over all the documents. I have had customers come to me and give me like a 400-page catalog, and all they delivered to me is this file right here. And they're like, oh, and they don't understand one bit when I open it up and go, see all these little red dots? I'm missing all of that work. And there is absolutely nothing I can do on this planet to fix it without the original files. There is nothing you can do. The closest thing you can do is maybe export this as a PDF, get the low resolution and scale them down and blow them back up. It's just going to look horrible. It's not going to look good. Now, anything with text in it that was part of, whoops. Now, that was actually typeset in is fine. Like, I typeset this all in InDesign because it was easier for me to do flowing. This is just text. So I'm okay. But the background's messed up because that background I created for this page. I don't have it anymore. So anything that was generated in InDesign is okay. Anything that was linked externally, I'm SOL at this point. There's nothing I can do to fix the problem. The only thing I could do is maybe dig through and try to find all the files. Luckily, I do know where these are. The other thing is I use PSD files. I don't convert. I leave them as CMYK PSDs. I'll even leave them, actually in this case, they were RGB files. They're the original PSD RGBs because InDesign converts to CMYK. And there's a big article floating around, and it's funny because it's from about 3 or 4 years old. Why not to convert to CMYK? Yeah, you notice that came up? You gotta love Google.
It's so bad.
I think that's what it's called. There we go. This is the article that was written. It's very technical, but it says why you should import RGB images into InDesign and convert to CMYK on export, which goes completely against everything I learned in the past. And it even says here, I love the first line as it goes, so yes, we know you probably learned to convert images to CMYK in Photoshop before placing them in InDesign. And yes, we know that you've been doing this since 1989 with PageMaker 2. But you know what? It's the 21st century now. It's time to wake up, smell the coffee, and change your ways for the better. And that's the argument. I'm the same argument I would have given. Well, we've done it forever this way since the 80s, and it's always worked. Why am I going to change it? I don't, because if you sent an RGB image, you would just get garbage back. So it goes through this whole thing about, I mean, this is a long article, and it just kind of goes through and really breaks down, and it says the PDF you get will be all CMYK, and your printer will be happy. And there are times when you do it, but at this point, we let InDesign do its job. InDesign does do export, and you can save as JPEG. Let's see what this does. I have absolutely no. Let's just do like 1 to 4. And let's see what happens, because it's not going to look good. I already know that. There we go. So here's the file that I got out of, wow. And the reason is I don't have the original files. There's nothing I can do. This is the closest I can get to making it look even decent at this point. So, moral of the story is keep all of your files together. If you keep them together in one folder, then we don't run into these problems. If you're going to burn it to a disk or something else, then it's great. Keep it all in one place. You know, it used to be, oh, we put on a zip disk or a jazz drive or a hard drive. We kept everything in one folder. And then that way, if things get broken, you know where they are. You can always relink them, and then we don't have these issues. This is what I would do out of InDesign, though. Save as PDF, open it in Photoshop. Just like I did here. So I wouldn't even have exported. I would have created this file and opened it in Photoshop and converted all my stuff. So I know this took a while, but it's out of the way. At this point, I've got files for next week that I can start working with and uploading. So you got to have some stuff for us to actually get up and build, because we're going to go through images, content, galleries, all that type of stuff. So by having these files, it'll make next week much easier. Everything's consistent. And this isn't just, oh, you'll do it all at the beginning and not worry about it later. This is something you'll do continuously throughout building a site. You've got to go back and get new files. You'll have to convert them, then go into WordPress. And this goes for any type of web design. It doesn't have to be WordPress. You've got to convert these things to their correct size. All right. So next time we really will get back into WordPress. I know that took a little longer, but that's done. It's out of the way. But hopefully you can see the process now to get stuff in, get it converted correctly.